DeKalb to New Boston. Go ahead.
Now I'm going to first put on my engineer cap on. I'm kind of the Highway 82 project manager for Bowie County. As part of the 82 expansion project, it involved kind of some interaction with the trail. Early on, kind of with the vision, kind of as far as from Bowie County's perspective, was that, we got 100 foot of right-of-way, on the railroad. Highway 82 had 100 foot. 100 foot's a little narrow to try to put a 5-lane, 84-foot kind of wide section in. I said, could we use some of this railroad right-of-way to build kind of what 82 needs, still leave enough room to have a trail, and kind of set that vision kind of early on, because if you look out on between DeKalb and New Boston, we've got about 200 and some odd driveways between in about an 8.5 mile section. I mean, they're driveway after driveway after driveway. And trying to widen the highway on the north side would involve taking everyone's front yard and possibly portions of their houses. The cost of the right-of-way would have been very prohibitive. And just as a common sense solution to kind of develop kind of a highway preserving space, for a trail facility. We worked through the Surface Transportation Board. Part of our coordination effort included demonstrating to the Surface Transportation Board that with that 50-foot remaining right-of-way, that you could reestablish rail service. In this area, between Malta, DeKalb, New Boston area, the ground is relatively flat. We have very little kind of terrain, big canyons or big steep grades, for cut and fill that you would have, for putting in a kind of a highway or a railroad alignment. So we went through that process, developed some preliminary designs, and we have a vision kind of for an ultimately kind of within this total of 200 foot of right-of-way of having a 5-lane highway and a trail. Okay. Now the next thing is, well, how do we get there? Our project is actually going to start off as a kind of an alternating passing lane type section. There in Malta, there'll be a center turn lane where the Malta School, there's a farm road intersection. So the road's going to be the first 50 feet of the ultimate 84-foot section. So anyway, the trail between State Highway 98 and here, right where the 82 kind of meanders off and goes around some buildings, kind of where there's kind of an island of buildings. In that, from there all the way back to State Highway 98, about 8.5 miles, the trail actually has 50 foot of right-of-way, and it's 100 foot pretty well everywhere else. And here in DeKalb, there's a little area where the old depot is, where the right-of-way actually was a little bit wider for the depot site. So anyway, we let the contract for the roadway construction last March, began construction last July. Wasn't able to do a whole lot. Winter set in. We had a very cold and wet winter. Not real conducive to doing much, from an earthwork and right-of-way preparation standpoint. Contractors just really starting to get going with some good weather, good dry weather here recently, and should see a lot of construction activity this summer, and we anticipate, it'll be another year of construction in general, at which time we'll have our finished highway project, and then the trail will be graded over kind of onto that remaining 50-foot of right-of-way area. All right. So that's kind of the timeline we're looking at. Let me see if there's, early on in developing this project, working with some of the kind of with the Surface Transportation Board, the county commissioners. The county commissioners were real active in clearing the right of way. Kind of some of those pictures of the kind of that overgrown trail. The trail between DeKalb and New Boston was kind of in that kind of shape. The county went in with some of their boom axe, big tractors, shredded a bunch of material, and basically cleared that whole trail. This last year, on some of these rides, these bike rides, this section of the trail was kind of rated excellent, as far as being passable, kind of clean and everything. We're going to restore it back kind of to that excellent condition. The project that we have under construction, we have a traffic signal at State Highway 98, and we're making a little bit wider, kind of a crosswalk area, and we'll have pedestrian walk, don't walk, push button type thing, so people using the trail will kind of come up to that traffic signal location and be able to cross the highway kind of at the signal light, kind of in a safe form of fashion. Now, I don't know if you have to get your horse to teach it to push the buttons, or you'll have to kind of dismount and get to those push buttons. Let me see. I'm going to take any questions about. I'll call it the highway project, and I will tell you that a couple commissioner court meetings ago, we did the highway contractor asked the county if they could use the trail during construction for their construction, accessing vehicles and whatnot, to not interfere with the Highway 82 traffic. And we went through a process, kind of negotiating, okay, well, what will you do for us? And got to kind of an agreement to kind of formalized in the county commissioner's court to allow the contractor to use the trail during construction. So that was the mechanism that we used to kind of show that the contractor has rights to use his motorized equipment and whatnot along the trail during construction. John, you got a question?
Yeah, John, I'm going to ask you if in exchange for that, did y'all get some base or anything like that agreed to be put back into the area where it was before?
There, not per se.
Seems like to me you missed an opportunity.
Well, this is where, in a negotiation standpoint, what we did, the big take from the county is that, with all this construction going on, moving the trail, there's actually a stormwater permit that the county took out for the amount of soil disturbance that's involved with moving the member city water line in addition to moving the trail. So what our roadway contractor is doing for the county is taking all the kind of putting up silt fence, maintaining. We're going to be working with them to reseed and resod kind of all the slopes and whatnot as part of the give and take.
How about trees?
The trees, all the trees on the north side or the south side of the trail are to remain as they are today. All the clearing is really essentially complete. One of the TxDOT requirements was, with really all the trees between the trail and the highway had to be removed because of the proximity and the grading that was being done, not only for this project but the ultimate project.
What will there be trees? Replaced between the trail and the highway?
Yeah, that not currently, but that you can replant trees, within that 50-foot kind of corridor area. But you could put a row of trees kind of right along that right-of-way line. But trees and highways don't get along too good. When the trees start getting old and falling over, and also the roots grow underneath kind of your highway pavements.
You sure took out a lot of nice trees.
Yeah. We actually, we approached TxDOT to see, what we could do to leave, some of those more mature trees that were in that kind of area. We got to the point where basically we were not able to really preserve really anything that was left, because you're from the old center line of the old railroad track. I want to say there's about 20 foot on both sides where the track and bell and grading for the railroad was. So once you got 20 foot, there was about a 30-foot buffer, and then most of that's going to be was pretty close in our ditch work. There were some areas we could have saved maybe a 10-foot strip, and we went and flagged some of those areas. And but TxDOT, in the TxDOT requirements, kind of in all of our contracts, was they really wanted all the trees taken out because of the proximity issue. Earl's got, no, Earl.
John, on that 50-foot part that was given up by Bowie County Rail Bank Agency, who owns that now?
TxDOT.
So they made no offer to come back and do any kind of replanting or anything. Are they going to use all that 50 feet?
Pretty much, yes. Yes, sir. Julie, right.
John, correct me if I'm wrong, what was the southern half of the canopy is still there. That will now be on the north side of the trail?
No, the trail will still be on the north side. The trail will just be scooted underneath those trees a little bit more.
So in effect, there can't be really any replanting.
You could plant something. If I were planting something out there, I'd plant crepe myrtles or something.
It'd be on the north side.
But it'd be on the north side, yeah. I don't know. Tracy.
Well, you're going to get a lot of traffic noise on that trail.
Yeah, from a noise analysis.
Like you got a safety issue with traffic. You got everybody problems.
There's different opinions, as far as on the noise side, whether you had trees or not. I don't know if it really makes, from a noise modeling standpoint, we don't deduct, because of, trees per se. It'd have to be a continuous wall from a noise standpoint. There's a sense of visual impact, as far as being in a tunneled area. You could still have somewhat of that effect, but you'd have to do some replanting. You probably have to tuck the trail a little bit, push it a little bit further to the south. The trail is whatever you want the trail to be. In the long term, this part of the country, trees, do tend to grow pretty well. It'd be something for the next generation to enjoy. So if that's something that we want our next generation to enjoy, then yes, we need to replant trees. Earl.
Yes, okay, you said that contractors were given an okay to use the trail. Okay, was there some specifications in there to put the trail back as far as the surface part of it? I mean, they're not going to come in stuff that they had to maybe remove to make drainage proper?
Yeah, that's a good question. While the roadway contract is underway, the county is actually going in and putting in new culverts and moving the trail over. So there's going to be some joint kind of cooperation between the county and the roadway contractor, to position the trail where it needs to be. And then at the end of the contract, the roadway contractor is going to repair anything that needs fixing. He'll dress up the area and make it as good or better than the way it started.
Does that include the base, John?
There wasn't really base.
Well, there was. I mean, it was a pretty solid surface. It very definitely was. I've walked it.
But the county's moving is pushing that whatever base there is.
That was lost in the movement.
Well, in spots. Tracy's got.
Probably,
Let's let Tracy talk.
I understand what you're saying about trees and roots not working well on roads.